For years, one of the most wanted strains in California sold itself on a LIE. Everybody who smoked it thought they were getting a cookie strain, straight from the most famous crew in weed. Rappers were putting it in their songs, dispensaries couldn't keep it on the shelf, and the whole time the story on the label wasn't even true. This is the story of Biscotti. So let's start with what Biscotti actually is, because the plant itself is a serious piece of work. It's an indica-leaning hybrid, and part of what the industry now calls the dessert strain category. And it was born around 2016 from crossing two heavy hitters, a rare cut called Gelato No. 25, and a gassy powerhouse called South Florida OG. And there was real thought behind that pairing too, because the breeder actually ran a bunch of different gelato cuts side by side, 4 of them in little red cups to see which one blended best. And he landed on Gelato 25, which some people call Berry Bonds, this rare, vanilla-heavy, super sweet cut that came out of the Sherbinskys and Cookie Fam genetics world, with itself being a child of Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies and Sunset Sherbet. And the reason he picked it is smart when you think about it, because an OG like South Florida is loud and dominant, all burning fuel and gas. So if you cross it with something equally loud, the OG just takes over and buries it. But Gelato 25 was fruitier and more subtle. So instead of fighting the OG, it balanced it. You got the sweet dessert side and the heavy gas side living together in one plant. Now I've got to be honest with you about the genetics, because this is weed, and the family tree is never as clean as people pretend. Gelato 25 crossed with South Florida OG is the story the actual creators tell, so that's the one to trust. But you'll see other versions floating around. Some sources throw Girl Scout cookies in there as a third parent, though that's not really a contradiction, since Gelato already has cookies way back in its own bloodline. Leafly at one point even listed the parent as Sour Florida OG, which looks like a straight-up mislabel. And South Florida OG itself has a disputed past, with the original breeders swearing it's a cross of an old Florida strain called Tampa Crippy and a Pakistani Kush landrace, with OG Kush further back in that bloodline, and specifically saying it is not Triangle Kush like some people claim. So the short version is, the Gelato and OG story is solid, but anybody handing you a perfect birth certificate for every branch is guessing. And what came out of all that is a gorgeous plant. Biscotti grows these dense, dark, spade-shaped buds with deep purple hues running through them, bright orange hairs, and a heavy coat of frost, the kind of weed that looks expensive just sitting in the jar. And the flavor is where it really earns the name, because Biscotti tastes like the sweet Italian cookie it's named after, all nutty and vanilla up front. But then that South Florida OG kicks in underneath with a gas and diesel bite, and it all gets rounded out with deep notes of chocolate and coffee. It's sweet and dirty at the same time, and that combination is exactly what people fell in love with. Chemically, what you're tasting is driven by its dominant terpenes such as beta-caryophyllene, which gives it that spicy, peppery depth, limonene, which brings that bright, uplifting citrus note right up front, and myrcene, anchoring the whole thing with that heavy, earthy body. As for the high, it usually tests somewhere in the low to high 20s for THC, and it hits with a creative, happy head buzz that eases down into a calm, relaxed body. But here's what people always point out about it. It doesn't glue you to the couch. It stays kind of light and airy, which is why a lot of artists and creative types swear by it as a working smoke. Now, to understand why everybody wanted Biscotti so bad, you have to understand the family it claimed to come from. Because Biscotti marketed itself as part of the most powerful dynasty in all of weed, the Cookies family. And if you've seen our other videos, you already know this whole world. It starts with Girl Scout cookies out of San Francisco. Girl Scout cookies led to Sunset Sherbet. Sunset Sherbet led to Gelato. And that entire line was built by the Cookie Fam crew, tied to a rapper named Berner, who turned cookies into a billion-dollar global brand. So back in the late 2010s, when a brand new strain showed up claiming to be the next chapter in that exact bloodline, with Berner himself standing behind it, people lost their minds. Being a cookies strain was basically a crown. It meant royalty. But here's the twist, and it's a good one, because Biscotti was never actually a cookies strain at all. The truth finally came out in an interview in 2024, when the real breeder decided to set the record straight. Biscotti was created by a company called Connected Cannabis, founded in 2009 by a guy named Caleb Counts, who'd been in the game since the beginning, opening a Sacramento dispensary and growing his own weed by 2010. And Biscotti wasn't just some strain to them. It was the very first one, the plant their entire company got built on. So if Connected made it, why does the whole world swear it's a cookies strain? And that's because they paid for it to look that way. Counts and his partner knew a big name behind the bud would make it explode, so they went straight to Berner and cut a deal. They literally paid Berner to say Biscotti was a cookies variety, and it worked flawlessly. The strain dropped, everybody assumed it was cookies royalty, and it took off exactly like they knew it would. And Counts says he doesn't regret it one bit, because that is what Connected was built on. But he also pointed out that as part of the deal they had, Berner had to sign a contract saying he could never actually grow Biscotti himself. But the cookies stamp wasn't just all that Berner gave them, because the name Biscotti was his idea too, straight off that dessert strain trend. Funny thing is, Counts wasn't even sold on it. To him, a Biscotti was just a dry cookie you dunk in coffee. But he couldn't argue with how good it sounded, and like he said himself, it raps really well. And that turned out to be the key to everything, because rap is exactly what shot Biscotti to the top. According to Counts, the first people banging down the door for it was the Atlanta rap group The Migos, who were supposedly ordering it by the pound. From there, it got into Young Thug's crew, and once it hit them, the whole thing exploded. Young Thug and Gunna dropped it right into their lyrics, with lines like, "All this Biscotti I got in my wood." Then Juice WRLD name-dropped it, Future rapped about it, and before long it felt like everybody had a Biscotti bar. It just kept snowballing. Connected's own team once ran a scan and found the word Biscotti in over 400 different songs as of 2023. Sit with that number for a second. 400 songs. You genuinely could not turn on the radio without hearing about this weed. And it wasn't just music. When Travis Scott launched his own cannabis line called Cactus Farms back in 2021, the strain he built it around, sold as PYT Jack, was a Biscotti-based hybrid straight out of Connected's stable. This purple, gassy, berry-twisted indica. And the industry was paying attention too, because Connected's Biscotti took first place at the High Times Cannabis Cup in SoCal back in 2020, putting a trophy next to the hype. So between the rappers, the awards, and that borrowed cookies stamp, Biscotti became the strain everybody wanted to try. Now I want to be straight with you about the messy part of this story, because that Berner partnership did not end well. Counts eventually felt like Berner was contributing nothing but his name, all while working with their competitors, so the two sides split. A lot of fans think Berner even fired a shot at them in one of his songs, with a line about not smoking Biscotti or Gushers. Berner later said that line was aimed at people ripping off the strain, not at Connected. And for his part, Berner has stayed pretty classy about it, saying he's thankful for those early days, that they made a lot of money together, and that Connected made some amazing strains off the genetics he handed them. So depending on who you ask, the whole thing was either a genius business move or a partnership that went sour. And honestly, in my opinion, it was probably both at once. But here's what really cements Biscotti's place in history, because it turned out to be an unbelievable parent strain. Its most famous child is a strain called Permanent Marker, made by crossing Biscotti with a sherbet line and then with Jealousy, another strain we've covered. And Jealousy itself was Leafly's Strain of the Year for 2022. So when Permanent Marker didn't just do okay and became Leafly's Strain of the Year for 2023, that was back-to-back wins for strains with Biscotti in the bloodline. Permanent Marker blew up into the single most hunted cut in the entire country. To give you an idea how fast, it went from sitting on about 10 store shelves in the summer of 2022 to nearly 600 stores just over a year later. That's one of the quickest come-ups weed has ever seen, and Biscotti is its parent. On top of that, Biscotti got crossed into a whole army of other strains, stuff like Biscotti Gushers, Biscotti Sundae, Biscotti Mints, and dozens more. This one plant became a genetic building block that breeders are still pulling from today. Its genetics even leaked out into the world through a fired Connected employee who kept live clones, which is why you'll see slightly misspelled off-brand Biscotti cuts all over the place. So at the end of the day, Biscotti is proof that in modern weed, the story on the label can be just as powerful as whatever's actually in the jar. It's a genuinely incredible strain, no question, sweet and gassy and beautiful, with a terpene profile built for connoisseurs and a bloodline that went on to father the biggest strains of its era. But it became a legend by borrowing a famous last name it was never actually born with, and riding a wave of 400 rap songs all the way to the top. And the wildest part is that even now, years after the truth came out, you'll still walk into shops and find it sold as a cookies strain. Even Connected's own online listings still call it one. The marketing was just that good. So what about you? Did you ever try some Biscotti thinking it was a cookies strain? And does knowing the real story change anything for you? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this one, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives like this one, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.